Hello guys, welcome back to the last part of this movie description project. Now when I write a movie name on this entry field and click on this search button, I want to display the data of that particular movie on the labels which we created on the right hand side. So we will be fetching the data from IMDb server. So we will have to download IMDb PY module, which is an external module in Python, which helps you to fetch the data from IMDb database. So IMDb stands for Internet Movie Database. What you guys have to do, just go to the terminal here. Now type pip install IMDb PY and hit enter. You can see it is getting downloaded here. Once it is successfully installed, we will have to import it. Here I will import IMDb. After importing, come inside the search function, and just after creating this cast name label, just after this we will have to create object of IMDb class. So how we can access IMDb class with the help of IMDb module. So we'll have to write imdb.imdb. Now I'm going to give the object variable name as IMDb object. And now we can access the methods which are present in this IMDb class with the help of this IMDb object. These methods will help us to fetch the data from the IMDb server. So firstly, we'll have to get the movie name and we will search that movie inside this IMDb database. A user will type a movie name here, and now we have to get this movie name from this entry field so that we can get the details of this movie from IMDb database using methods of IMDb class. So we can get the movie name written on the entry field with the help of this object movie entry. So we'll write movie entry dot get method. So this get method will get the movie name that you will write on the entry field. I will store that movie name in some variable movie underscore name, and let's print this so that you are able to understand what it is printing. So if I run this, when I write a movie name on this entry field and click on this search button, you can see on the console that text is getting printed, right? And now we have to get the details of this movie from IMDb database. So I don't have to print it. So inside this movie name variable, we are storing the movie name that a user is typing on the entry field. Now we have to search for this movie inside IMDb database. So we will be using a method of this IMDb class with the help of this IMDb object. So I'm going to write IMDb object dot search movie method, and here you have to pass the movie name for which you want to get the details. So the movie name is inside this movie name variable. So I'll pass this movie name here. And whatever the search movie method will return, I will store that in some variable movies. Okay, if I print this movies variable so that you can see what this movies variable is storing, Avengers search. So you can see on the console here what is getting printed. You can see we are getting a list here where we have this ID and the movie name. You can see there are so many movie names with the same name, Avengers, and it is returning all those movie names here. So the best match is at the first index. Okay, so this is the best match and it is at the first index of this list. So we are only interested in the first index value. So how can we get this movie? We can get this movie with the help of this ID here. So how can we access this ID? And corresponding to this ID, we will be able to access this movie and all the details of this movie. So to get this particular ID, we have to write movies and in square bracket 0 index. This 0 index represents this first element of this list. And we are interested in ID, so we'll be writing dot get ID method. Okay. And we'll store that in some variable index. Now if I print this index variable, so you'll be able to see this index will be printed on the console. Let's run this. Avengers search button. You can see here on the console we are getting the ID. Okay, now with the help of this ID we'll be able to get that movie. So we'll have to use another method of IMDb class to get that movie with the help of this index. So I'm going to write object name IMDb object dot get movie, and here I have to pass this index which simply contains this ID, and this will return us the movie. I will store that in some variable. The variable name that I'm going to take is movie here. If I print this variable movie, let's run Avengers search. You can see we are getting this movie here. Now we will be able to get title, the director name, rating, year of release, everything. So for finding out the title, you have to use this movie variable name, and inside square brackets you have to mention title, and this will return you the title, and you can store that title in some variable that is title. Okay, and you also can print this title variable so that you can see what it is returning. Let's run. If I type Avengers here and click on the search button, you can see we are getting the title on the console. Now instead of displaying the title on the console, we have to display the title on the title name label that we created here. Okay, so we have to update the text of that title name label now. Now I'm going to use this title name label that we created in the previous video. It has no text. Now we will be providing the text to this title name label. So here instead of this print line, we'll be writing title name label dot config method. It helps you to update the text. So I'll write text keyword argument, and the value will be nothing but this title variable. So I'll mention title here like this. Let's run. If I type Avengers here, click on this search button. Now you can see the title is added on the label. In the same way, we can find year and we can display that year on the label that we created earlier. So I'm going to use a variable year for storing the year, and how we can get the year, just you have to write the movie variable and in square brackets you have to mention year. Okay, this will return the year, and now you can add this year on this year name label, this one. Okay, let's add it. So I'm going to write year name label config method, and text will be this year variable. Okay, let's see. Avengers search. You can see we are getting the year on this label. In the same way, we can get the genre and rating. Let's find these two and then we'll see for the remaining ones. So I'll create a variable rating which will store the ratings, and ratings we can find with the help of this movie variable, and in square brackets you have to mention rating. Now we can add this rating on a rating name label variable that we created. So write rating name label dot config method. Here the text will be this rating variable. Let's see. Avengers search. You can see we got the rating. In the same way we can find genre also. Let's see. So I'll take up the variable genre which will store my genre, and here I will write movie variable and in square brackets genre key. Okay, this will return us the value, and that value will be stored in this genre variable, and now we can add the genre on this genre name label. Okay, whatever genre will be there, that will be added on this genre name label. Genre name label dot config method, and here we need to mention text equals to genre. Let's see. You can see we got the genre also, action, adventure and sci-fi. Now let's see how we can add director here. If I use the same approach movie variable name, and in the square brackets if I mention the director, let's see what we are getting. Okay, and let me store this in some variable director, and let me just print this director. Okay, let's see. If I write Avengers, click on the search button, you can see here that we are getting a list here. Okay, so the director name is this one, so we can access this with the help of a loop here. So if you apply a loop, then you will only be able to get the name. Okay, so I'm going to apply a loop here. So I'm going to write for director in movie, and in square bracket director key. So this is a list, and from this we can get the value inside this director variable, and this value will simply hold this JAWS Whedon. Okay, and then we can display this director variable on our label. So I'll write director name label variable dot config method, and here we have to mention text, and that will be this director variable. Okay, because this director variable will store this name. Let's see. If I write a movie name here and click on this search button, you can see we are getting only the director name here. Now let's fetch the runtime. So if you try to find out this runtime in the same way, so I'll write movie variable and in a square bracket runtime key. Okay, so this will return you the value, and that value will be stored inside this runtime variable. Okay, let's print this runtime so that you can see what it is giving as a output here. If I write Avengers, click on the search button, so you can see here also we are getting a list. So this runtime is in minutes. I want to display in the form of hours and minutes. Since this is a list, we can use a loop to fetch this value, and on this value we can apply the operations to get these minutes into hours. You can see this value is in the form of a string, so we'll have to convert this to integer so that we can apply arithmetic operations on it. So I'm going to use a loop here for runtime in movie, and square bracket we have to pass runtime. Okay, so this runtime variable will hold this 143 as a string. Now we have to convert this 143 into hours, so I'm going to use hours variable. Firstly, we'll have to convert this runtime into integer, so I'll write int, and inside this just pass the variable name runtime. So this string runtime will be converted to integer 143. After that I'm going to use double division operator and will divide it by 60. So this simply returns us the quotient. Okay, if you divide 143 by 60, you will get 2 as a quotient, and that 2 value will be stored in this hours. And to find the minutes, you have to use modulus operator. So firstly you will have to convert this runtime into integer value, and then you will have to use modulus operator by 60. So this will return the remainder, and the remainder will be nothing but the minutes. Now we have hours and we have minutes. Now we can display hours and minutes on this runtime name label. So here I'm going to write runtime name label dot config method, and the text here will be, so firstly I have to display this hours variable. So I'm going to use a f string which will help us to concatenate the variable with a string. So I'll use in curly braces these variable names. So I'll write hours. Okay, and then whatever the string you have to use, just write that. After that I have to show minutes. Okay, so I'll use this minutes variable in curly braces, and then the string minutes. Let's see. If I type Avengers here, search, now you can see we are getting 2 hour 23 minutes. I hope you understood this logic. And now the last one, the cast. We have to display the cast on this label. For cast, we'll write movie variable and in square bracket cast key, and this will return us the values and we will store that in some variable cast. Okay, let me just print this variable so that you can see what this is storing. And I'm going to skip this portion of writing the movie name again and again and doing the searching. I will simply show you the output. So I will edit that part. You can see here this cast variable is storing a list with a person ID and then the name. But we are only interested in the name, which is these strings. So what I will do, I will use a map function here. What this map function will do, it will take all the names of these lists and will keep it together. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to use a map function. Okay, and here I will pass str. So whatever the strings are here, okay, all will come together. After that we have to mention the list for which we want to map only the strings together. So I'll use cast list. Okay, and then I will convert that to a list. Whatever this map function will return, I will convert that to a list and I will store that to some variable cast list. Okay, and let's print this cast list. Now you will only be able to see the names. Okay, all the strings will be together. Okay, let's see. You can see here this cast list is again a list due to this list function, and it has simply mapped all the strings together, and now all the names are together in a list here. Now on my cast name label, I don't want to display all these names since there are so many names here. I want to display only first 5 or 10 names maybe. So what I will do, I will simply slice this list. So I'll slice list variable, and here what I will do, I will simply slice this cast list. In a square bracket, I'll mention till 10. Okay, so when you write colon and 10, it represents that this is a list. Okay, this is a slice list which will contain only elements from 0 till 9. Okay, so from here till 9 elements. Okay, if you count, let's print this slice list variable to see how many elements will be there inside this slice list. You can see inside this slice list variable we have only these 10 elements. Now let's display these 10 elements on my cast name label. If I display this slice list on my cast name label, you will be seeing brackets, okay, and that will not look good. If I add this on my cast name label dot config, and the text will be this slice list. Let's see. You can see we are getting a list here, and this is not looking good because of these brackets here. And also one more thing, all the names are getting displayed in a single line only. I don't want to display the names in a single line. I want to display them in multiple lines. So what I am going to do, where I have created this cast name label, I will add wrap length keyword argument. Okay, and here I have to mention the number in the form of pixels, so I'm going to use 615. After completing these many pixels, the word will move to a new line. Let's see. Here you can see after 615 pixels, the names are moving to a new line. And these names are not looking good because this is a list that is getting displayed here. So we do not want to display a list, we want to display only the values of this list. So let me remove this line, and I will create a variable here, strr. Initially it will have null string, means no string. So I'm going to use a loop here for I in slice list. So I'm going to access one by one elements of this list inside this I variable. I'm going to fetch one by one each element of this slice list, and we'll store that inside this strr variable that we created here. So I'll write strr equals to strr plus I. Okay, so this way this strr variable will have all the values which are present inside this slice list. So when the loop will run for the first time, so this I variable will store the first name of the cast, and that first name will be added to this strr variable. Okay, again the loop will run, the second name will be inside this I variable, then this second name will be added to this strr variable. Okay, in the same way all the names will be added to this strr variable. Okay, once this loop will be over, all the names will be inside this strr variable, and then we can display this strr variable on my cast name label. So I'll write cast name label dot config, and text will be this strr. Let's see. Now you can see we are only getting the names here without brackets. You can see few of the names are at the center. I want all the names should start from the left hand side. So for that, inside this cast name label, I'll add justify keyword argument, and I'll give left as a value. Okay, so you will be able to see the names starting from the left hand side only. Let's see. You can see now each name is starting from the left hand side. Now here you can see after each name there is no space. Okay, what I want after each name there has to be one comma. Okay, and at the end I want to add a full stop. So let's add a space here like this, and now you will be able to see the spaces between each name. Now you can see the spaces between each name. Now I want to add a full stop at the end. So what I will do here, if this I variable is storing the last element of this slice list. Okay, so I'll simply check if I equals to slice list last element. In that case, I will add a full stop at the end. Let me provide indentation. And in all the other cases, so I'll add inside this strr variable, after each name is added, I will add comma. Okay. Now you can see we are getting full stop at the end and comma after each name. Okay, so after comma I want to give a little space. So what I will do here, after comma I want to add a little space like this. Now you can see after each name we are getting comma, then a little space, then another name, and at the end we are getting a full stop. Now what if the user does not type any movie name on this entry field and tries to click on this search button? You can see we are getting a window without any data, and this is not looking good. So what I want to do, when a user does not type anything and tries to click on this search button, I want to display a message box. So let's see. So for displaying a message box, I have to import from tkinter import message box. Once you import this message box, now inside the search function, I will apply a condition here. If movie entry means the entry field dot get method, and if this is equals to null, it means there is nothing on the entry field and the user has pressed the search button. If there is nothing on the entry field, then I will display a message box. So I'll write message box dot show error method, and inside this show error method we have to pass two parameters. One is the title, so the title I am going to give is error, and after that I have to pass the message. The message is please type a movie name like this. Okay, and if the user will type a movie name, then this if condition will become false and we have to move to the else part, and in the else part I will simply execute the code that we have written. So I'll simply select all this code till root1.main loop, and I will provide some indentation. So I'll press tab. So now let's see. If I don't type anything and click on this search button, you can see we are getting a message box, please type a movie name. Okay, So every time you don't write anything and tries to click on this search button, you will get this message box. And if you type a movie name, Justice League, and click on the search button, this time you will get a window and all the details of that movie. So that's it. I hope you like this video. Please subscribe to this channel. Thank you for watching.